So, hello everyone. Now, this is a little bit of a don't exactly know what I'm doing broadcast, so I do apologise in advance. Um, oh, sorry, let me just turn down my. There we go. Right, so the reason I've done this genealogy Q&A is because I've been doing genealogy now for 17 years. I've progressed quite far on my family tree. And I kind of go into it and then I come out of it and then I go back into it, and in and out and in and out. And obviously, as my hobbies have progressed with the part works and the painting, I feel my genealogy's been neglected, and I really want to sort of pick it up again. Now, if I was just to go straight in and stream, obviously there'll be people who may be new to this, and they will be lots and lots of questions. So I thought the best way to get this started was with a Q&A. Now, obviously, I've also badly planned this stream, so there's no advance notice of it. And as we speak, there's one person watching now, which is probably me because I've got it on monitor. So as per usual, I'll just carry on. If anybody obviously wants to ask a question, just go into the live chat, type in your question, and away you go. So I'll probably have to start again. It's not a problem. But what I'll do is I'll start off with, first of all, what is genealogy and why genealogy? And obviously, I can only answer this from a personal point of view. So basically, what is genealogy? It's the study of your family roots. Now, there's various ways to do this. You get some people will go, they may only want to follow their own family line. So obviously, if your name is Fred Bloggs, you'll want to follow the Bloggs line. So you will study only anyone whose name is Bloggs. Now, that's called a one name study because obviously you're only studying one name. You've got various small things like you've got maternal lines, paternal lines. Maternal meaning, right, sorry, just bear with me. I've just got a message. Will stream start for you? Yeah. I don't know. Am I working okay? If you're watching, can you just sort of say hello or something, just so I know it's working okay? Yeah. So the study that I, or the depth that I go to is anybody who shares blood with me. Hello, Adrian. How are you? Yeah. So my research follows anyone with that shares blood with myself and their parents. So, for example, my cousin's husband, I would obviously include in the tree, and I would include his parents in the sense of Joe Smith, son of John and Mary Smith. But I wouldn't go any further than that. Now, obviously, their children I would include. And then you get people who will follow anyone by marriage. I think the theory is there that everyone's related to everybody. So let's see how everybody hooks up. Now, like I say, my own personal genealogy is just anyone who's related to me by blood and their immediate family. So, for example, I'm going to do some name dropping here. My seventh cousin, 6 times removed, something very distant anyway, is hello, love minis. How are you? Yeah, so I think something like seventh cousin, 6 times removed is Kate Middleton. Now, so obviously Kate Middleton is related to me by blood. So I will include her in my tree. Her husband is Prince William, who I will include in my tree in the sense of my cousin's husband, and then I will then include Prince Charles and Princess Diana, who is the parents of Prince William, but I wouldn't include the Queen because the Queen is the grandparent of a relation by marriage. All the little princes and princesses that they've had, I will include those in the tree because obviously they're blood of Kate Middleton. So, how do you go about researching a tree? Well, obviously, I think calling it a tree is probably the most appropriate thing because the further back you go, the more branches you have. Everybody has two parents. Those parents have two parents, which gives you four grandparents. Then, in turn, you have eight great grandparents, 16 great grandparents, and so on and so forth. They then have other children. So you've got like a weeping willow effect. So as the tree goes up, it creates another branch. That branch then comes down. So the main focus, therefore, has to be you. In your tree, you are the start point. Hello, Izzy Harris. How are you? So always remember that your tree isn't the same as somebody else, no matter how close you are. So, for example, my father, he only has half of my family tree because the other half is my mother's. My sister would obviously have the same family tree as me. But then if she gets married or I get married, then a branch of my tree will go off and that will become irrelevant to another one of my her family members. So the simplest place to start with on a family tree is yourself. The main reason for that is that you have certain facts that you definitely know of. You know your date of birth. You know you're still alive. You generally know the names of your parents. You may know the ages of your parents. You may know the names of your grandparents, and you may know roughly the ages of your grandparents. Now, if you notice that I said you know your age, you know how old your parents are, and you know roughly how old your grandparents are, as you go further back, the information becomes slightly more vague. And that's where more and more research is needed. So let me show you. I've just picked a tree section of my tree at random, which I know. Right, so bear with me. You know I'm not very good at this technology stuff. Right, so screen one. So that should be me. So let me just catch. This is why I have a little monitor. So hopefully there should be an ancestry tree comes up. Right, so this is a semi-random part of my tree. And this is just to show you some names. And you'll see here that, for example, you've got a character here, Peter Finch, born 1771 to 1850. Married Elizabeth Orford, born 1769, no date of death. Now, it doesn't mean that this person is still alive. It just means I don't have that information. And then as you go further and further back, you will see that I've got a photo for this person. I've actually lost what I'm looking for. There we go. Right, so this is the only part I rehearse, and I can't even get this right. That's because I need to click there. There we go. Right. So what I'm using here, I'm using a website called Ancestry. Most people would probably have heard of it, even if you've only heard of it through TV adverts. It's, I believe it's the biggest ancestry stroke genealogy website out there. And in actual fact, it's its own worst enemy. Let me also, No, I won't bring that up yet. Now, why is it good? The reason it's really good is because it has lots and lots of information on it. Why is it bad? Now, this is the first thing that, like, right, so whereas I've said put in your own information, this can then search your own information. Now, when I started genealogy back in 2001, the process was have some information, go down to the library, spend absolutely hours looking through public records. And at the end of the day, if you're really lucky, you'll find one or two pieces of useful information, depending on what you're looking for. So, for example, the way I found my grandmother's date of birth was I knew roughly how old she was. So I searched through public records and I found the quarter that she was born in. Now, the reason I could only find the quarter is in the UK, births, marriages, and deaths are filed in quarters. So she was actually filed in January quarter or December quarter because she was born in November. And then from there, you spend money and you order a birth certificate, which then gives you more information, such as the name of her parents. Now, that's very time consuming and it can get quite expensive. But the information that you get from that is very accurate because you're actually obtaining a official government record. Although even that's only given the information or the information that's been provided to them. So, for example, if you've had children yourself or registered a loved one's death, you go down to the registry office and you say, oh, my grandfather's died. Yeah, what was his name? George Henry Bloggs. He may not actually have been called George Henry Bloggs. He may actually have been called Henry George Bloggs. But you say that's his name because that's the name you were given. You may be asked some information to clarify that. You may have a copy of his birth certificate or marriage certificate. People lie about their ages. The best example of that is World War I records, where people lied about their age so that they could sign up to go and fight in the war. And so there's quite a few records of, you might think somebody's 20, then you see their record, their World War I service record. And you think, oh, actually, they were born earlier than that. So that means that they were 22 on this event. So then you find another event later in their life where they're 45. And you think, well, that can't be them because they were 47 at that time. So there's lots of records that can be quite misleading. Now, with Ancestry, things don't get checked. However, they are very good pointers. What also helps, let me show you this one. This is Maryanne Burdette. Maryanne Burdette is my third great grandmother. And you can see there that I've got lots of information already. And I've got various pieces of information to support that. So there we can see it. She was born in 1852 in the district of St. Faith's in Norfolk. And I've listed 12 different sources for that. Most of these are census records. Now, Ancestry has their, let's have a look. Love Minis, it says here in the States, record keeping was not something that was done in the, yeah. There's, USA brings its own unique challenges. You have national census, you have state censuses, and if say I think the state censuses were done in the years that end in 5. Don't quote me on that. And the flaw with that is that, for example, somebody may have moved to the state of New Jersey, and then just before the census for New Jersey, they may actually move to New York, where they've already conducted their census. So they missed 2 censuses. So it's easy to think, oh, they've disappeared. Now, they might have just moved to a neighbouring state because of work, for example. They might have got 6 months' work, I don't know, labouring on a field or something. And yeah, it's yeah, and as I say, people dodged them as well. So this is hints. Now, what Ancestry's done here is it's found 8 records that might be a match. Now, like I say, back in the day, I have a little saying that just because it's there doesn't mean it's true. Always check sources. Trying to find, I've got to remember how to do this. But here's one that's been ignored. There we go, look. So I've got a source there. Anna Finch could well be the correct name because she married a Finch. I believe she married a Finch. So there's an Anna Finch that was in America in 1880. Well, I know that to be incorrect. This is the one, right? Ancestry member trees. Now, what this one is where you've got, like we see, we've got a tree there, Diane Townsend, another one owned by Jack B66 and John M. Roberts 128, and many others. This one I know for a fact. They joined. They did a little bit of research, and there we go. That last signed in over a year ago. So this research wouldn't have been updated, and also you got to think where they got this information from. I recognise some of these names because obviously I've been researching for quite a while, and I know some of these people got the information from me. So there's no point me using their records to assist with mine because all I'm then doing is using my own records to assist with my own research. So this is one of the things where you have to sort of treat it with a grain of salt. The census is much more accurate, but you've also got to, you really must look at the original source, because this information here is quite literally copied. But the censuses tend to be a lot better, and that's where a lot of my best researchers come from. So let's see if I can interpret this. I've not looked at a census for quite a long time. So Elizabeth Miller, there we go. So we've got James Finch, head of the household, married, 35, loco boiler tuber. Now, the reason I know that information is correct is because my research has led me to understand that my family came from various other parts of the country to work on the locomotives on the railway lines. So you have the correct Thorpe, the district of Thorpe was somewhere that there were villages set up for railway workers. And my family does actually come from a railway working family. Before that, they came from labourers. So this is another part of the research that you need to decide if you're doing. I don't just look at names on a tree. I actually look at what I call the leaves on the tree. So the question I've always asked is, well, this guy worked with railways. What's this? I'm trying to understand. Blah, blah, blah. The way I tend to read these is I will look at this bit here, and then I will. So let's see. So none of those would actually have been working. So what I've deduced from this is that the family of Finch is railway workers. Yeah, it pretty much. From about the 1800s onwards, yes, it has. Obviously, I've got branches that have done other things, but the Blakes and the Finches, which is my main 2 family names on my mother's side, the Blakes tend to have been labourers. the problem with labourers is that you only really get about 8 to 10 months work a year, and it's really hard work and it's really low paid. When they built the railways, they needed workers because they just didn't have the workforce, and basically they were offered more money. They were offered guaranteed 12 months work a year, somewhere to live, somewhere to socialize, somewhere to have fun, somewhere to look after your family. And back in those days, whatever job you did, your son would be almost guaranteed to have a job via their apprentice scheme. So that's why I've ended up with so many railway workers in my family, because it's pretty much a job, a high paid job for the whole family. So I was kind of hoping for some questions by now. So let me take this off. I did. Oh, there we go. Right, so I'm back. Yeah, so what I find is useful is you're looking at the history of a family and events that were going on. For example, myself, like millions and millions of American people and possibly British people, I have Irish parts of the family. Now, how do I end up with Irish relations? Quite simple. The Irish at one stage were very, very poor. Things were going very bad. Everybody's heard of the Irish potato famine. The very lucky ones were able to get out of Ireland and emigrate to a different country. And that's how and obviously there was work abroad, building work. For example, America at the time was going through a large, what's the words I'm looking for? Building things. So they needed the workforce. So the Irish moved over for the purposes of work. So I've actually got Irish ancestry. I've also got some Russian ancestry, where the Irish, the Russians were being persecuted for being Jewish. This is a story actually that if you pick a different country and a different time frame, it's the same old story over and over again. You have a group of Irish people, Jewish people, they're being persecuted, and then they move on, and then that story repeats itself at another point in history. And I think by the time the Jewish were being persecuted in World War II Germany, I think that's probably about the fifth or sixth time that's going on. And it's not just limited to the Jews, it's limited to different religions. I think in my own memory, the last time that was happening was quite recently in Yugoslavia. I may be wrong, but this is where it's useful because you've got to ask the question, why? I have a grandfather who was born in New York. Sorry, I tell a lie. He was born in Massachusetts and then ended up in New York, marrying someone who came from Illinois. And you kind of ask yourself, why? Now, I still haven't got the answer to that particular question. I can kind of explain why he ends up going from Massachusetts to New York, but I can't explain why she went from from Illinois to New York. Right, yeah. I mean, have you looked on the site recently? I do find Ancestry's become more and more commercial now. There used to be a lot of information you could find for free. Now you can hardly even find your own information for free. 6+Stevo, how are you? So if you've just quite literally popped in, I'm doing a kind of a dipping my toe in the water kind of a session. I want to get back into genealogy. I want to see I want to see if it's worth me doing this online or if I should just pick it up and have like a day a week away from everything and do it offline. Um, maybe there's tips and tricks that I can pass on. Maybe there's nothing for me to pass on. I don't know. How do I handle a dead end? Quite literally, I don't. What I actually do is I have a database of relatives and I make a record of when I last did some research. In fact, let's actually have a look. So there we go. So what I'm able to do, if I take, I think I might actually have research notes for this young lady. There we go. Probably not got anything at all. No, I've not got research. So you can actually make research logs. This program that I use is a program called Roots Magic. Um, so genealogy is the study of your family tree, finding out who your dead relatives are, finding out that you're related to royalty and that you are actually in line for the throne or not, as the case may be, finding interesting stories, such as your granddad, who possibly was up the D-Day beaches, dodging all the bullets, and there's probably 20, 30 people out there whose lives are owed to your grandfather. And yeah, basically, it's a case of you go, um, sorry, how is your finger working? Oh, yeah, sorry. I didn't realize you were talking to someone else there. Um, so yeah, when I come to a dead end, um, I leave it. Um, Sometimes, like quite a lot of research, you may need to come at it from a different angle, but you have no information on that different angle. So you kind of go back to a later stage. I've got people, in fact, actually talking of dead ends. This record here is actually a dead end of mine. This is see if I can find her on Ancestry. Right, I have lost control of my mouse now. That's because I'm using the wrong screen. Right, so let's Ancestry. Right. Oops. Right, so if we look for, God, it's been so long. I can't remember how to do this now. Right. Yeah, right. Sorry about that. Right, so this young lady is how do I get her on the tree? View tree, right, there we go. Right, so oh, have I got to find her again? Find person. There we go. So I came across this person who, while looking for my grandfather, this one is my grandfather. This is actually the guy who was born in Massachusetts and moved to New York, and his wife came from no, it's someone else. See, this is how much I've forgotten. Right, so I accidentally found Master of all trades. Yeah. I put my fingers. I mean, basically, I'm. I don't know what got me into genealogy. Actually, yeah, I do. I kind of sat there one day, and I probably like everybody else. I said, "Oh, I wonder if I'm related to royalty," and that was kind of the way that I kind of started, and then I the more I looked, the more I was sort of thinking I'm not related to royalty, but I was finding fantastic stories, um, like the story of there's someone in my I found in my tree who he gradually he married, he sought out richer women, and he poisoned them over time with arsenic, and then they died, and then obviously he got their wealth, and then he moved on to somebody else, and he slowly poisoned them, and obviously that's not really a nice thing, but I kind of think it's funny, and I actually found the court transcript, and it said something like, at the ending it said, um, you will be taken to the gallows on such and such a date, and at such and such a time you will be hung until you are dead. And it just, I kind of chuckled, because that's the sort of thing you only really see in the movies, isn't it? But here it is in real life. And I know it's not nice to be, I mean, technically speaking, he was a serial killer. Um, by definition, he's killed more than one person with the same motive, which I thought was interesting. And then I found out I am actually related to royalty, and I don't really care. It doesn't stir me at all. That's quite boring and ordinary, isn't it? Being related to the family tree, and I've got famous people in my family tree, and I've got some not so famous people, and I've got mostly just salt of the earth, hard-working people who just want to work hard and provide for their family, which is why I love my tree and I love my research. And my family have got involved with it as well. And I often get emails from my father saying, "Oh, I found this person. Are they any relation to us?" But yeah, so this person I found, it's my father's father, my grandfather. But what got me interested was this name here, Georgiana Mary Eldridge. She's the daughter of, she's the result of my grandfather's first marriage. And I have very little information, um, because obviously I thought my grandmother was this one here, Florence Bloomer Charles. And that turns out it's his second wife. Um, and it's kind of, there's an air of mystery about it. Um, and obviously it's exciting possibly for my father, who's now got a half sister. So, and I actually got a little bit of new information this morning, which is that she was married to, she's actually dead. I found a death record, which is quite sad. Although saying that, she would have been over 100 today. So you've got to kind of expect that. Have I still got the hints? So it turns out she got married to a chappie called Walter Eugene Wilde, and she has two children, one of which is now passed. The other one I don't know, but she would be coming up for what, 1890 now. So this for a long, long time was a dead end. And then all of a sudden, as you can see, I found, oh, this is what I found this morning, the social security applications. So she's got a social security number, which obviously makes her real. There turns out to be one other person doing some research on her, a chappie called Rock Hunter. I call everyone a chappie, by the way. And for a long time, this is all the information I had. Birth around 1917, death after 1930. You'll see the word after a lot. And what the word after really means is that they found a record on that date where they were alive. And then so you learn what the records are. 1930 would generally mean that it's usually a census. And there we go. 1930 United States Federal Census. Can we view this? There we are. So we've got Georgiana Eldridge, age 14. So because I couldn't find her on the 1940 census, which at the time hadn't come out, I concluded that she would have been 24. So either she would have been married and had a different surname, or she's dead. So, and I also couldn't find uh, George Eldridge at the time. Um, but obviously, at after that time, he got married. So, but I can't find any divorce records. So then that makes me wonder how they separated. So let me find. Yeah. So there we have a daughter who no, that's a different daughter. There we go. So 1939 was when my father was born. So obviously 1930 we've got him on a census with Georgiana Eldridge. 1940 we've got him on a different census with different children and a different wife. So yeah, that you get a lot of dead ends, and that one's actually been a dead end for a good 10 years. That was my biggest brick wall. Another dead end that you get very commonly is where a lot of people will I'm not knocking anyone. I'm saying a lot of people, but like I said, I come from an era where if you wanted to research something, you had to get off your butt and go down the library or whatever, and you had to get out and do it. And when I lived in Norfolk at the time, if I wanted to do some research in Wiltshire, I either had to go to Wiltshire and get local records, or I had to go down to London where they have a big central records office. These days, you turn your computer on and there's all your information. I've lost where I am now. Now, because the information is there, quite often people will put it down as gospel. So you've got a lot of misinformation on the internet. So it's your job to find sources. So what you might see me do a lot is I may find some information, and it might take me 5 minutes to find the information, but then I might be spending half an hour checking the information and another hour writing the information down to make sure it stays accurate. And I like to think that, well, I lost a lot of my research at one point. So I've still got the facts, but I haven't got the sources. So a lot of my information has become undocumented. And I feel that the longer it takes me to document that information, the more unreliable that my information becomes. I did become known as people who looked at my research, they knew it was good research. Um, I don't know about how I feel about doing a DNA test. I wonder if it might make it a bit too easy. Because obviously, like if one of you guys is related to me, we will share parts of our DNA. Depends how deep it goes. My father did. He did a DNA test, and I'll tell you something interesting. My American family is I've always when I was young I believe my father's American and my mum's side of the family is from Norfolk, and I always believed that they were born and bred in Norfolk. In actual fact, my father, he's more Norfolk than my Norfolk family, because my mum's side, they didn't originate from Norfolk. Whereas if you go back 6 or 8 generations on my father's side, they actually originate from 15 miles from where I used to live, a place called Wymondham in Norfolk. So when my father said, "Oh, I've done this DNA test and I'm mostly English," I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Because it just supported a lot of research that I'd done. Um, there was part Eastern European in the DNA. There was part Irish. There was a little bit of French. And what the DNA test did is it underlined quite a lot of my information. It didn't. A DNA test doesn't tell you who your father is or who your. Well, it tells you who your father is. Well, it doesn't. It actually tells you who your father isn't. And then I don't recall having the results, but he said he was going to do my sister's DNA test. And now I'll tell you about this one day. But at one point I had a big question mark uh, over my birth. So I won't go into it now, but so there's a big question mark, which I don't think I need to go into it. But then again, sometimes, you have this little question and just every now and again it just pops up. And I said to my father, I said, "Oh, should I do a DNA test?" And he just kind of went, now obviously he sent me an email, so there's no emotion in words. So it's how you read it is how it comes across to you. And he just said, "Oh, no, you don't need to do that because your result should come out exactly the same as your sister." So of course then this question pops up in my head. Why doesn't he want me to take a DNA test? And then suddenly all these questions pop. So can DNA tests cause more arguments than they solve? I don't know. So yeah, DNA test. It's fun in that you can learn your background. I was watching an advert the other day for I forget what it's called, football DNA or something like that, where they do DNA of footballers. And there was one guy, he played for Italy, and they said, "Oh, where do you come?" And it turns out he's not actually that Italian. And someone who was Brazilian, he wasn't even nearly Brazilian. And he's like, "Well, why am I representing my country? I should have been playing for so and so." So yeah, it helps, and obviously where you've got international migration, it kind of helps. But can it lead you off the wrong way? With me, the DNA test came after I'd done a lot of research, and all it did was confirmed that my research is possibly correct. If I'd got the DNA result before I'd done the research, would I then be looking for that? So if I started off today and I just had the name of my information, my brothers as well, I haven't got any brothers, but my siblings and my father, parents and grandparents, and then I got this DNA test that said you are mostly English with a little bit of French and a little bit of Irish and quite a big touch of Eastern European. Would I then be looking in those areas and directing my research, say, towards Ireland? Oh, well, I'm Irish. I better do lots of Irish research. So, yeah, I don't think there's a place for DNA tests, but I don't think it's DNA testing is a separate is blah, blah. There are people that just deal with DNAs. But I don't. I think it's a tool like anything else. Did I? I was a bit long-winded on that one, wasn't I? So my plan is, I know I'm doing this on YouTube, but I'm planning on doing the research on Twitch. I've got to be honest with you, Twitch is my favorite streaming platform. so I'll be doing. I'm hoping to do. Yeah, it's like I say, it can confirm. I mean, it for me, it's confirmed. DNA doesn't necessarily tell you what's correct. It tells you. It's like if you. I mean, most people think of DNA tests for proving parents, proving father, and I believe the way a DNA test works is it will tell you if someone isn't your father, or it will tell you that they might be your father. It won't tell you who your father is. It tells you when someone isn't. And that information can be as important as finding out what is correct. If I've got DNA wrong, by all means jump in and tell me that I'm wrong. But it looks for matches, certain matches. So obviously, if you don't have certain matches, someone can't be related to you. And it's no, sorry, that's blood tests, isn't it? Um, if you've got a different blood type from your father, it means your father isn't your father. But if you've got the same blood type, it means that they might be your father. I don't know. I can't remember. But in my case, DNA has confirmed that my information isn't wrong. But yeah, it's to be honest with you, this, as far as I'm concerned, there's only ever one place to start, and that's yourself. Now, you will then eventually bump into somebody else because the way genealogy is taken off. I found a cousin who was living in the same area of Norwich for all of her life. And she was quite literally 10 to 15-minute walk from where I lived. And I didn't know until after I'd moved out for about 10 years. Hello, Glamour Girl. How are you? You should be working, shouldn't you? You naughty girl. Yeah, so actually, you've just reminded me there's some kinds of research that are very difficult. I know Irish, well, I say Irish research is difficult, but it's understanding how the records are. American research is difficult because they have a different set of rules. I know that you can't get, depending on what kind of certificate it is, you can't get. Hello, Chris Ballard. Have I seen you before, Chris Ballard? The name rings a bell, but I can't remember why it rings a bell. I'm so sorry if I've accidentally insulted you. Ah, okay, fair enough. So, just bear with me a sec. There we go. Right. So yeah, there you go, love minis. I have a part of my family where it seems to be very fashionable to marry someone, have children, divorce or what separate, then marry someone else and have children. So it's just the case of the half uncles. I always used to say to my uncle, who's my mum's half brother, and I said, if my name was Simon, then we could be Simon and half uncle. So yeah, it's just yeah, it just seems to be a lot of half aunties and half uncles in my family. Um, I am just going to say that the chat that I have in my, obviously you've got the chat. You're welcome to, we don't have rules here. Be fairly easy, but obviously if you're going to come on and be insulting, that's not what we're about. And that extends to insulting other chat members as well. That hasn't happened, but yeah. So totally forgot what I was saying now. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So I'm going to sort of work on my tree. Sure, I was responding to a comment actually. Uh, yeah, finding different records can be difficult if you don't know how their system works. America has a system where you can't get someone's death or birth certificate unless you're related to them and they've been dead for so many years. Um, so it's like someone's birth certificate, you can't get that for like 50 years after they've died. So yeah, that makes life difficult. I don't know if the rules are fairly relaxed. In with the case of UK, I think they let anybody have the records so long as they are public records. I don't know if that's going to change with identity theft. Um, but basically, I can just write to any local registry office and say, "Can I have the record of birth certificate of such and such?" They'll give you a form, and then you have to put reason for it. And I just make it simple for them, and I just put genealogy. And when I first started getting certificates, I used to write an essay in there. I used to say, "Genealogy. This is my grandfather." And I'm trying to find out the names of my great grandparents. And they don't care. They're just like, yeah, fine, and send it out. So here, the records are quite free. As long as you pay the money, you're quite welcome to get the records. Whereas in America, you can only get the records if you're related to them and they've been dead for so many years, which kind of makes sense because if I want to pose as somebody else and get a birth certificate, and they live to be 80 years old, then that I can't get that birth certificate until they would be 130 years old, and there's no way I can pose as a 130-year-old person. So I can see the sense in it. Um, and also the UK, they do genealogy copies, which I personally don't bother with. I like to have the full certificates. Um, Sometimes it tells you more information. I have, see if I can find it. Actually, I'll find it on here. Sorry, guys. This is just as you know, as things pop up. I just thought of something that might amuse you. There we go. Don't know if you can see that all right. I'll just wait for it to come up so I know it's there. Um, right, this is a place called the Norwich Puppet Theatre. And on the previous screen, there we go. There you go, the Norwich Puppet Theatre. I've never actually been, but this is a theatre in Norwich. And I assume it's to do with puppetry. Why have I brought this up? Well, I have an auntie who was married there, because this did actually used to be a church. And I'm trying to find the actual Google. There we are. So if I recall correctly, it should be behind. There we are. So this is the Norwich Puppet Theatre. Let's go over to. Oh, this brings back happy memories. That used to be this here used to be a cardboard factory. I think it might still be a cardboard factory. So there's the Norwich Puppet Theatre, and yeah, I have an auntie and uncle who was married there. So, you know, obviously it wasn't a puppet theatre at the time. As you can see, it is a church. Um, cool, they've renovated this area, haven't they? It didn't used to look like this when I last lived there. Blimey, there's the cathedral in the background. Big print factory there. Oh, I'm getting homesick. Look. Yeah, so that might amuse you. Um, Actually, do you know what, guys? I'm going to go off track here because down here a little bit further is a taxi company I used to work for, and oh, they still haven't finished. Right, the taxi. Oh, it's further down. Right, there's a little garage down here. There we are. Right, this is round about there is where the office used to be, and we all used to park our cars there. But this all used to be flats, and there we go. All of this was flats, and they booted everyone out of the flats because they were going to build something there. But as you can see, they haven't got anywhere close to building it, and that must have been a good 10 years ago. So yeah, that's where I used to work. Company called Z Cars. Weren't the best taxi company in the world, but it was nice. It was nice and small. It was also where I got threatened by a customer. Um, but that's another story. I think just about every person who's driven taxis has got a story about being threatened. Right. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm going off track there. So yeah. So that's the basics of genealogy. It's last. There we go. Right. And the other thing is, it took me a lot of my research has come. Oh, how long? 18, right. So I've been researching now for let's call it 18 years, 17, 18 years. If you divide that research into two, the first 9 years and the last 9 years, um, the last 9 years, it's exploded. And there's two reasons for that. One is obviously the records have become more publicly available. Every 10 years, they make another census available. There's now census available that that my father features on. Um, Obviously, my first census would have been the 80s, so it'll be a long time before I find myself on a census. They're pushing to release these records earlier and earlier. I've got to be honest with you, I disagree, because the idea of the census is that it's information that you've got to provide, but they also say that they will keep that as private for 101 years. So if in 1901, 1911, I was giving my information, and I found out that it's released before 2012, I would probably have gone mental. I probably wouldn't have provided my information. But the other reason why I think my information has exploded is because every generation things should theoretically double. They don't always, as you find members of your tree that have married each other. I call that generation implosion. Obviously, as it goes out, then where you've got two relatives, that will cut a lot of your research out. But obviously, as I've got more hooks, that's enabled me to find more information. And I found family members, like, for example, I've gone like, right, I need this person. I can't find their father, or they can't find their mother. And then what I've done is I found another relative, found their parents, maybe found their grandparents, found their grandparents' brother or sister, then found their children, and that turns out to be the mother that I've been looking for. But what I find is one of the problems with genealogy is you'll see a lot of small trees out there on things like Ancestry, where people they've not bothered with it anymore. And I think a lot of that, and this doesn't count for everybody, people think they see these programs on TV, things like Who Do You Think You Are? They see people with, let's see how many, can't remember how many. Let me find. I can't remember how to do it now. Ah, it's Control F. Control F. Record number 9999. Right, I have got 2,681 people in my family tree. Now that has come from a lot of hard work, and I think the most recent person in my tree was probably added about 6 months ago. And had it not been for the research that I'd done in previous years, I would never have reached that person. Um, I think there's a lot of people that are expecting to log on to the internet, put in a little bit of information, and voila, there's an entire tree. But don't forget, when you research something, you've then got to do something with that information. Do you copy that information? Well, I call that plagiarism. Or do you source it? Sourcing takes time. Also, is a little bit of a. I think sourcing is a bit of a dirty trick that I like. If um, if I put a bit of information in and it's not accurate, and then someone has found that information and gone, oh yeah, that's right, got that. They then put that in in their research. If that sends them off in the wrong direction because it's inaccurate information, well, I think that's my fault because I've led somebody on. If I put it in my research and I put this information came from birth certificates, blah 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 blah, and I think it's my great aunt because then people can look at that research and it becomes your work, but it doesn't become your fault if it's wrong. Someone else can look at that. I use the word natural deduction a lot, where I've deduced something based on the facts. There's also another saying. I think was it Sherlock Holmes or someone said, if you deduce, if you eliminate the impossible, then what's left becomes possible. Sometimes that's how you do things. So if you have three people, one of which could be your great great grandfather. Which one is your grandfather? Well, if you eliminate one as can't be your grandfather, now you've got it down to two. If you eliminate somebody else, then the third one might not be, but is more likelihood to. So then you go, right, well, I can't disprove this person. So you'll add them to your tree, and then you'll put in, I believe this is my great 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 grandfather because of this reason, that reason. Okay. So I don't know when I'm going to start streaming this. I'm thinking maybe a Tuesday or maybe a Saturday. I keep throwing the Saturday around for various other things. Am I still chat? Has anyone actually put anything in the chat and I've missed it? Yesterday when we did the Route Master, I had a bit of a problem with the chat. And then I did the pop out thing and it came back up. No, I don't think I've missed any chat. I'm sorry if you're asking me stuff and there you go. Right. So yeah. So the last thing I've got in chat is Love Mini saying, in my case, my mum was married 3 times and father 2 times. What do you think of that? Because there was a time when divorces were kind of, you don't go around going, well, I'm divorced. It was a bit of a bad thing, a bit like single parents. These days, it's almost like a trophy. Yeah, I married him and I didn't like him, so I divorced him. I've had 4 divorces. I just can't find someone I like. It's almost like it's a trophy thing, isn't it? Um, So yeah, I suspect probably no one really bothers anymore, because it's not you, is it? It's just, it's like my serial killing poisoner bloke that poisoned women to get their money. Yeah, it's a really bad thing, really. But I think it's not funny, but let's not be serious about it. Sorry, just finishing my coffee. I think all the best streamers, when they do a chat, they stop for coffee. It becomes, that's greatness, isn't it? Coffee time. And off you go. So, right, guys. So I'm gonna end the stream here because I've kind of run out of things to say. Um, so I will probably try and update this description. I didn't put a description into. I just couldn't think of anything to put in the description. I've been dealing with a lot of other stuff as well today. I was going to completely change the subject today. Now, I think I've come to close to the problems of my 3D printer. I thought it was to do with some settings for how high the nozzle goes up. And this is a failed print. And then this is a second failed print, which you can see it's got a little bit further before failing. This is a third print, which, as you can see, it's got higher still. So I changed the settings even more. And there you can see it's got a lot further before it failed. And so encouraged by this, I changed the settings further, and the next print's even worse. So yeah, that's a bit of a letdown. But sorry, I wasn't watching this print. So in all fairness, I don't know why it failed. It might have been to do with the first layer. Sometimes if the first layer doesn't go down properly, it's going to fail somewhere else. It's a bit like if you're a bit drunk, and you do a misstep, you probably might not trip over until the 6th or 7th step, but it's because of that first step that you've gone, and that's giving you the wobbles, and every step after that's getting worse. So is your half sister still alive? Or is it just a case you'll never meet? It's like that Georgiana that I've got. It's a relative that I will never meet. And I think the closest relative of hers that I will be able to meet will be her grandchildren, which are probably a lot older than me. And they've probably not really bothered by someone like me. We've got very little in common. And it's yeah, or maybe I don't know, and you never know, they might be in a commune somewhere setting their own cult up or something, or I don't know. So right, so I'm going to I will take the stream further, but it will be done on Twitch. I was chatting to someone today, you know who you are, thank you very much for helping. I feel this kind of format is a little bit more suited for YouTube, but sitting there doing a bit of weekly research, yeah, she could do actually. I heard someone say once about, I think it was a comedy sketch actually, and they said, "Oh, yeah, I just keep a telephone directory." And then when I see the obituaries, I just scribble out their name from the telephone directory, and then it's like a Christmas card list. And it's like as time goes on, your telephone directory has more and more black marks, and that's just the thing with being older, isn't it? I mean, I'm not young, but I'm not really old, and every few years my list of people that I knew that are no longer with us just gets a little bit longer. I was probably one of the rare ones that I had a school friend died. So there's not an awful lot of people sort of 16, 17 that's good friends with someone that's no longer with us. And then you you get to about your mid-20s and you've got a few people you know that are no longer with you, and then you get to your 30s, and now I'm getting to the point where there's quite a few people that are no longer with us, and it's yeah, I think by the time I'm sort of 80, 90, 100, I think the only people I'll be friends with are just people that just happen to be in the same nursing home or sheltered accommodation to me. I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, but yeah, things happen, don't they? So yeah, so I'll be doing a weekly stream on Twitch, which will quite literally be me doing my research. And then obviously we'll chat as we go, which I always do with all of my streams. If anybody wants to put any questions to me, obviously I'd be rude not to answer them. And I might do a monthly Q&A on YouTube. It's I'll be honest with you, it's shameless promotion for my Twitch channel. But I'm transitioning from one medium to another. Both YouTube and Twitch has its benefits, disadvantages and advantages, and I want to take advantage of all of them. So I'm trying to have a ciggy, and I can't keep my ciggy alive. So yeah, sorry. I'm not sorry. It's a short one. It's streams go on for as long as they need to go on for. So yeah, if you're interested in genealogy, keep an eye out on my Twitch channel, and keep an eye out for any Q&As that I have here. Obviously, don't if you have a burning question, you don't have to wait until a Q&A. You can always contact me, make a comment on this video, perhaps. Judge what it's like. I mean, I could just as equally sit at home and do my research and sit here until the cobwebs form and just get on with things. Hopefully it'll be something that's people are interested in. Something that I've been doing for a long time, and I don't even know if it's streamable. So maybe it is. There's a lot of genealogists out there. There's a lot of things that. Oh, bless, yeah. So sorry. Do you know what? I'm so sorry. I respond to questions without actually acknowledging them, so I do apologise. What's genealogy? Hello, Luke's APS. How are you? One of my terrain making money saving heroes is Luke's APS. Lots of open my eyes up. I've always been a cheapskate myself. I'm not calling you a cheapskate, Luke. But I personally am a cheapskate. I'm the kind of person that when I was younger, if I wanted a set of Skittles, my mum would tell me to go out and buy pop bottles, fill them up with soil, and make a ball and use that. So yeah, genealogy is the study of your family tree. It's something that I've been doing for quite a while, and the last few years I've totally neglected it. It's something I really want to pick up again. It's something that my family have got involved with, and I've had friends, and I've been able to help people. And yeah, you're a Yorkshireman. You're probably tighter than you are tighter than me. I've seen your videos. £5 for a pot of wash. I'm making my own. But yeah. No, I do love your stuff, Luke. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And it's also. I discovered Luke at a time when I was trying to plan some videos around. I was still fairly new, and when you're new to the miniature painting hobby, it's so expensive. Now it's not so expensive because I've got so many different paints. For example, there's all some selection of my citadels. Whoa, that's how not to pick up. I forgot. Do you know what? That's my fault. I put elastic bands around these so they don't collapse. And this one hasn't got an elastic band on. There you go, bit of comedy for you. Yeah. So obviously, I'm at the point now where if I get told, oh, you've got to use Army Painter yellow, I can sit here and go, Well, I don't own an army painter yellow, but I own a Citadel or a scale 75 or a watercolors that's very, very close. Um, when you're new to the hobby and you get told this is done in green, and you're like, I haven't got any green, so I've got to buy a green. Um, Paintbrushes last you more than one session, so once you bought your paintbrushes. So I was obviously when someone's sharing, what's the word I'm looking for? They're going down the same lines that I want to go down. How you can save yourself a bit of money. Obviously, I'm interested. Um, yeah, your lass is that right? Now, I'm not as familiar with Yorkshire as I used to be. Our lass, as in your wife, or your lass as in your daughter? I can't remember which way round it is now. And also, is it barn or bap that you put bacon in? There's a debate for another day. Um, so yeah, no, I mean you don't have to show more interest. I've got plenty of people in my family that really don't care, and that's fine. I suppose there's a fair argument for the comment of what's in the past, it doesn't affect the future, and maybe their girlfriend, right? So, yeah, yeah. I mean, if it's something you want to be interested in, then that's fine. At the very, very least, if it's something that someone gets, it's a bun. Yeah, I go into Greg's. Shame to say, I go into Greg's, and I ask for bacon butty, and sometimes they look at me and they go, "What?" And I'm like, "Well, bacon butty," and they're like, "Well, what's one of them?" And I'll go, "Well, it's a bacon in a roll," and they go, "Bacon roll," and I'm like, "No, it's not a bacon roll." Because if it's a bacon roll, this is my argument here. If it's a bacon roll, if a bacon roll is bacon in a roll, then a sausage roll must be a sausage in a roll. So therefore, what do you call sausage meat wrapped in pastry? And that is a sausage roll. So therefore, bacon roll is a bacon butty, and then you've got a sausage butty. And then some people go, well, a butty is a sandwich. And I'm like, but Greg's don't sell bacon sandwiches. So I can't be coming in at 7 o'clock in the morning and ask for a bacon butty, meaning, can you make me a sandwich? So use your noggin. Or maybe I just like an argument. So, but yeah, you go different places and things are called different things. And I'm not talking about having to travel a long, long way. You can travel 20 miles down the road and things are just complete different meaning. You go to Bristol and things have a different meaning. Bristol's like 15 miles from where I live, and they have an expression, "Gert lush," which means it's really good. But here in Wales, they use the word tidy. And if it's really, really good, it's bang tidy. Um, so, and then you'll go sort of 40 miles up the road and then they'll say something completely different for the same meaning. But yeah, food causes a lot of arguments in the UK. Which way round does the takeaway container go? Which is the top? Which is the bottom? What do you call a bread roll? Which Cornwall? You've got Cornwall and somewhere down in the West Country. It's is it? Do you put jam on the cream, jam then cream on a scone, and then someone else will argue that you put cream then the jam. So it's sometimes it's just easier just to go, just shut up and eat it. But there you go. Right. So yeah. So Luke, have you considered Twitch? I don't. Do you do Twitch? I think it would suit you. The only thing you'd have to do is be a little. Well, you don't have to be regular, but I think Twitch would suit you. Because I think you got a hell of a lot to offer. and you don't see so much terrain stuff because you're more terrainy stuff, aren't you? And I absolutely love. Um, yeah. So sorry to finish off describing about Luke. Luke is the kind of person that will take, say, for example, you've looked at it. Oh, fair enough. Um, a cliff with a waterfall. Now, Games Workshop and Woodland Scenics and all the rest of it, they will tell you you need to buy this mold and then you need this water effects and this, that, and the other. And Luke will look at that and go, right, well, if we use this for that, and we'll nip down Poundland and we'll buy this, and then we'll get some cheap paint to do the rocks because you don't need expensive paint for scenery. And then we get this from Poundland and that from the DIY store. There we are. We've made a brilliant scenery for a fifth of the price. And so, it's like, yeah, why do you need to buy the expensive stuff? And of course, if you save money on the expensive stuff, it then means you can do more of it or buy more of something else. That's why I think it would work for you, Luke. Right. So look, guys, I'm going to sign off now. I think you were wonderful, and I think we've had quite a good time. I think we've had probably more good time with stuff not to do with genealogy. So I'm going to be looking at a regular day for the genealogy. At the moment, it's going to be between Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I'm thinking it might actually be a Saturday. Come home from work, kick my feet off, get on with a bit of research. Never work on a Sunday, so it doesn't matter what time I go to bed. Plan for a 2 hour session. That could turn into 2 hours, could turn into 10 hours. That's how genealogy takes you. I've sat down at 6 o'clock in the evening and thought I'll just research this one bit. And the next thing you know, it's 6 o'clock in the morning and you've just got heaps of bits, scraps of paper everywhere that you haven't filed yet. Sometimes you'll sit down and yeah, it's always a good time though, isn't it? If it's just a couple of people or if it's 100 people, we're all friends here. So I think one thing I have got right is that the people who are watching my streams about your prosthetic feet, my prosthetic feet. Can you just clarify that, Luke? Because I actually have no idea what you're talking about there. Yeah, Adrian, you will definitely see me Wednesday when we are doing more of my bus. Yeah, it's getting fun. I'm actually looking forward to Wednesday. It's funny, I'm looking forward to it because we're going to be doing mudguards. Not the most exciting subject in the world, but yeah, no, Luke, you've confused me then. More about your prosthetic feet. Oh, right, okay, yeah, all right. Sorry, Luke. I'm not the sharpest tool in the box at times. Yeah, no, it's kick your shoes off, whatever. Yeah, it's I always say it's like this is a funny thing actually. When I was little and my mum, we'd be going out somewhere, and mum would go, "Oh, I just need to put my face on," and I'm like, "But you've got a face," and obviously what it means is that I've got to put my makeup on. But yeah, no, I always say kick your feet off, and kick your feet off just means you just sit down and relax and chill out. And but yeah, okay. So you got me thinking now. When I get my 3D printer, I'm going to be printing off some feet now, so that when you watch the stream, I'm going to go, "There's my prosthetic feet." Um, and then you'd be embarrassed, then, wouldn't you? Be going, "Oh no, Penny, I didn't know you actually had false feet. I'm really sorry." Yeah, so yeah, we'll look at doing something a bit more regular. I think what I'll do with on the strength of this, I think people weren't expecting it, so it's why it's not been so, you know. But I might look at doing this on a little Q&A on YouTube every other month. We'll see how it picks up. Um, I'll also do a better description with some keywords because that kind of helps, doesn't it? Just having the title Genealogy Q&A doesn't really attract an awful lot. So yeah, and next week is my second week of my holiday from work, vacation if you're in the US. I've really not done anything this week in terms of streaming. So I plan to do a lot more. And I've got bits of model all over the place, which I really need to get more done. And I've got a massive pile of figures that needs painting, finishing. Some even need starting. So we'll try and get more of that done next week. Just trying to get the damn 3D printer working. You think you've got it I haven't printed anything for about 3-4 weeks now, and I've been buying upgrades and things, and the upgrades aren't doing anything. But I think I'm close to figuring it out. But I can't really do much more tonight because I've got to go bed for work. But yeah, when you're producing that before it fails, and then you produce that, which is obviously a vast, nowhere near complete. This is meant to be a spool holder. But the other day I was printing these off, and I got 3 of them done, and they don't look awesome, but they're still functional, and that's actually quite a difficult print. But I think the reason that's working is because it's not many layers. This is about a 30-layer print. I think what my problem is, this is going to turn into another 3D printing show. I do apologize. You have what they call E-steps. The printer, one movement is one, obviously, but it has its own unit of measurement. So you have to program into the printer, you have to tell it what a millimeter is. So for example, with the extruder, the part where the filament comes out, for me, let me just control, right, motion, steps, right. So for me, 110.2 movements is 100 is a millimeter. So if you find that if it's pushing too much plastic out or not enough, you adjust that number. Now, what's been happening is I've been getting nozzle clogged. And usually what nozzle clog means is that if you imagine you've got the print bed and you've got the nozzle, you need a gap so that the plastic can come out and stick to the bed. If you've got the nozzle too close, then obviously that plastic doesn't come out, but it's still being pushed in from behind. And then what happens is that it just can't get any more through. So it just blocks up. On the other hand, if you've got the nozzle too far away, as the plastic comes out, it's too far from the bed, so it's got nothing to stick to. What I think is happening is I'm leveling my bed, and then as it prints, it's going up and up and up. But I think that it's supposed to be going up 0.2 millimeters, and it might be going up, say, for example, 0.19 millimeters. Now, that doesn't sound an awful lot, but what that means is every 20 layers, because it's going up 0.01 millimeter, sorry, every 100 layers, because it's going up 0.01 millimeter, not enough. What's actually happening is as it goes up, the print is catching up with the nozzle. So I have to move the nozzle. I have to tell the nozzle to move further, and I think that's what the problem is. I think the left and the right, what they call the X and the Y movements, I think they're absolutely fine. I've been doing the extruder. I think actually the extruder is fine. I think the implications of getting the extruder wrong is you're just going to push plastic through quicker. So it's still going to come out, but it's going to come out thicker. So if you're under extruding, you're going to get much thinner lines. If you're over extruding, you're going to get fatter lines. I am convinced it's the amount that it moves up. So that's something I'm fiddling with. I'm also, oh, that reminds me, I need to check my email ever so regularly. I've emailed, there's like a fix it guy, uh, who has not emailed me back yet, but then I don't know the time in China. So, yeah, because I've got problems with the printer, I've been told to contact some guy from Creality who makes the 3D printer. Um, so yeah, let's see if he gets back to me. Um, so yeah, and then hopefully one day I can get back to printing wonderful stuff like my racks, which are probably more expensive than actually buying them in MDF, but they're personal and I can adjust them and make them exactly how I want. The little Citadel ones, I love these because you can't buy anything like that in the shop. My screw pots, and yeah, basically I'm going to end up with a 3D printed whole house. But most of my prints seem to be, I've just, sorry, change the subject here. I keep looking over to my left and it looks really bare. And the reason it's really bare is I've taken one of the shelves out today, because where the filament roll is on top of the printer, I can't get it on top of the printer because it's pushing against the shelf. So I took the shelf out with the intention of putting the shelf higher. But I've also got somewhere somewhere some extension cables, which I finally bought. Um, they'll turn up. I move things in this house. Also, I have right, burning question. Oh, where's my cables? Da, da, da. Right. Sorry, I'm going to completely change the subject again. We spoke the other week about Acid Drop Monster Box, and I said it's a big box that it came in. We've had two monster drops, two Acid Drop monster boxes. Sorry, let me just. I'm trying to close this lid. I'm using this box as a. Whoa. I'm using this box as a temporary storage. So, where's it gone? Yeah, found it right. This is the box from last two months ago for the Acid Drop, and I can't remember. I said I can't remember the size of the box, but I'm sure. Oh, it's 4:30 in Beijing, is it? Oh, lovely. So that means he's not had a chance to answer it. Bear with me one sec, guys. Yeah, so this is the box that this month came in, and it's definitely a bigger box. So I did wonder. So yeah, definitely a bigger box. So yeah, if you're on the fence about Acid Drop Monster, you see it's getting bigger every drop. Um, and this is the one from 2 months ago, which some of you will look at that and go, "What a load of crap!" But for me, that's probably one of the best paint jobs I've done. Still got to do some finishing touches to him. But yeah, he's getting there. So yeah, 4:30 a.m. in Beijing. So oh damn, oh, it's Friday tomorrow, isn't it? So hopefully I'll have an answer before tomorrow. Um, oh, that's interesting. So 4:30, 8, 9. So let me just check my emails then. Uh, Right, I emailed him at 3:15 in the afternoon, which was 6 hours ago. So I would have emailed him at 10 o'clock at night his time. Okay, that's fair enough. I'm not going to expect an answer then. But they did say to me, don't expect an immediate response because he's in China. So does China only have the one time zone, or is it like America and they have to have 58,000 of them? Right. So I am gonna disappear now. So is a regular Q&A for genealogy something that you guys might be interested in? Um, Obviously, if there's any you're not going to be watching this live, but if there's any genealogists out there that have found my channel because of, sorry, found my channel in the future, which is now, because when you're watching it, but after this has gone out live, is that confusing or what? Um, then obviously that would be interesting. I'm not the biggest expert on genealogy. I've tried to help people in the past, and I find that I'm better with my own genealogy because I get into the zone. I get into my tree, and it's very hard um, because family trees don't really have a beginning and an end, if that makes sense. With me, I started with me, obviously, but then it's kind of joined up with other things. So it's like a racetrack. If you took the start and finish line off a racetrack, um, where would you start and where would you end? So it's you plonk someone in the middle, and it's tricky, but um, and most people attending a lot of genealogy is doing basic stuff over and over again. You find the birth, you find the death, you find the marriage, you then look for children, and then you find their birth and death and marriage and their children, and there's a little cycle. And usually people start asking for help when the usual sources don't work, and then you things become you then need to look at the individual. um, so it can be quite difficult, but for starting genealogy, I think it's something I can do, not a problem. Um, and obviously, if it's little bits of general info, like um, might be related to something that I found, like historical events I might know about. Okay, so look, We'll look at doing. Let's look at doing it bi-monthly to start with. Or maybe we could do. Um, let's do the next one when there's 5 Saturdays in the month, and we'll see how that goes. And then we'll do another one, which will be about 3 months later when there's 5 Saturdays in the month. So then that'll give us an idea of the time. We'll see how that goes, and we can increase or decrease the frequency. I'm definitely going to go ahead with Twitch, um, or rather, I will go ahead with doing it on a regular night. If it turns out that Twitch is not really interested, then I can just carry on doing it, but not streaming it. Um, but I think with the Twitch community, it's more about being a place to hang out and chat more than it is to do whatever the subject is. Um, so I'll see what happens. And okay, so I'll probably look at streaming in 2 weeks. We'll see how it goes, and then we'll take it from there. So with that, then I'm going to sign off, head off to bed, and I've got work tomorrow. I really don't want to go in, and I can't think of any excuses to not go in. The last shift that I had was absolutely awful, and I'm sitting here thinking, why on earth have I booked in shifts to go in No, that's a really good idea, actually, Loveman. Is find some other sites, source sites that are free. Right. Okay. So when I do my research in 2 weeks, I know of a very, very good free UK based site. So what I'll do is I will look at some of my relatives that have got information missing that I know I can use that site, and we'll look at that. We'll look at that. So that would be very, very good. Right, brilliant. So we've got a bit of a plan of action then. Why the last shift I had, I very nearly walked out of work. It got on top of me, and I just got completely fed up. And I've had absolutely nothing nice to say about the job since Monday, and now I'm going in tomorrow, and I'm going into work with the attitude that I really don't care, which is not a good attitude to go in with. Um, and I think work knows that I've told a couple of people I'm looking for another job. To be honest with you, the last week or so, the only thing keeping me in the job is the structure, because I do split shifts. It means that I can do my painting and my streaming at regular times. If I go out and get a regular job, it means that the afternoon streams will disappear. I'll have more time to stream in the evenings, because my 8 hour day will be an 8 hour day rather than 8 hours spread over 12. What happened? Well, we've been we've been seriously short staffed for quite a while, and they're totally reliant on them. And been missing streams because they've been asking me to do overtime, and I've been helping them out because they're totally desperate. And I understand that if they haven't got the staff, buses don't run, and the customers, they don't understand about it's we need drivers. All they think about is they've got 15 bags of shot bun. Their bus runs every half an hour. They've just missed the last one. The next one hasn't run. Now they're sitting there for over an hour waiting for a bus, and they're probably going to lash out on the next bus driver that comes along. And they don't understand from our point of view, and I get that. But we're just our duties are being changed. I mean, we're on school summer holidays. The rotas that we should have, I understand they changed the rotas for school holidays. Um, that's totally understandable. That's totally normal, because we have buses that run with schools in mind. So when the holidays come, they don't need those school buses. And they don't want to pay 15 drivers a day to sit there for 4 hours and do nothing because the school's off. So they change the rotas. But you expect the rotas to stay changed for the entire school holidays. Turns out next week they're changing the rotas again. So I actually don't know what I'm doing next week, and I don't know what I'm doing the first week I go back. Um, they've implemented a system where you get paid quite generous for doing overtime, which doesn't help the drivers who don't work overtime. We've got a lot of drivers who have got a lot of negativity, and that negativity is passing on to other drivers. And we've got to a situation where we've got drivers who don't even know why they're unhappy. They're just unhappy, but they don't know why. And it's just that they've picked up the mood from everybody else. And I just got to a point, and I shouldn't have reacted. But we've got one route that I was doing, my last bus run, and before I was on holiday, and there's 4 sets of roadworks on this route. And with all my bus came in 15 minutes late. I managed to pull that back to on time. And then I did my second run, and I got through all the 4 sets of roadworks, and I was running 1 minute late. One customer ripped into me because she'd been waiting 15 minutes for a bus. And I tried to explain to her the last bus was 20 minutes ago. So you actually missed the previous bus by 5 minutes. So you've been waiting 15 minutes because you're 15 minutes early for this bus. And then a couple of stops later, I had some guy really, really ripped into me because I was late. And I was 1 minute late. And I ended up swearing back at him, and we had a big row. And I'm just sitting there, I'm going, for fuck's sake, I'm supposed to be on fucking holiday. I said, I've fucking come in so that we can have slightly better service. I should be sitting at home at holiday, and this is fucking the way you treat me. No wonder we've got bloody drivers leaving, because drivers are leaving because of the way the customers treat you. And yeah, and also we have a rule that if a bus or any public transport is between 1 minute early and 5 minutes late, that's considered on time. So the fact that I'm 1 minute late is considered on time, and that goes with trains. You know, if a train is running 5 minutes late, that's called within reasonable tolerances. Because with railways, they've got the wrong kind of snow, the wrong kind of leaves, the wrong kind of sunshine. These are all things that delay the trains. So, you know, if you go through 4 sets of roadworks and you're 1 minute late, I'm sorry, I think I should have had a pat on the back for that. Well done. You've kept the time despite everything trying to stop you. So I just want a job where I don't deal with the public anymore. Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, I do smile. And I'm always happy and jolly with them. And I get home and I look on Facebook, and there's a load of people slagging the drivers off. And they're going, oh, the drivers ignore you, say hello to them, and they totally ignore you. And I'm like, hang on a minute, right? When I came here as agency, my original contract finished at Christmas. Apparently I left at Christmas and I started back here permanently at the end of January. So I had about a month away. And obviously I didn't tell people I was agency because the word agency is associated with useless, desperate. Companies are desperate if they get agency in, or they're short staffed. There's a lot of negativity goes with the word agency. There were very good reasons why they brought agency staff in. The real reason was there was a bus company was trying to muscle in on one of the routes. So what they did was they used their muscle, they flooded that route with their own buses, but they didn't have the drivers. So they got 10 drivers in from an agency for 5 months to do the other routes. And they had their established drivers flooding this other route that someone else was trying to muscle in on. This other company then got the message. They pulled out. Agency drivers weren't required. But obviously, you go around telling people your agency, the first thing people are going to say is, "Oh, the company, oh, they're desperate, are they? They got no staff," and there's lots of negativity. So unless people asked, they thought I was a permanent member of staff, and I was always having jokes with them. I had customers coming up to me and saying, "Oh, what's the joke for today?" And my humour is it's very serious with a funny punchline. So I draw them in, and I'll like the last week I said to one of my regular old ladies, she said, "How are you?" I said, "I'm very, very sad today." I said, "Today is the first anniversary of my boyfriend's death." And she's like, "Oh dear, that's really sad. How are you managing?" I said, "Well," I said, "I can still remember his dying words. Penny, please put down that shotgun." And it's got the funny punchline. And that's how I do the humor. And people say that they love me because they get on my bus, and I'll tell them a story, and they honestly don't know if I'm going to tell them a joke or if I'm being serious. If I said to them, "Oh, I'm really not happy today," I might actually be unhappy, and they don't know. And quite often people interrupt me and go, "Are you telling us a joke or are you being serious?" Um, but yeah, so getting home and seeing that bus drivers ignore customers, um, and I'm like, the number of times I've spoken to people and they've either ignored me. Um, yeah, no, Adrian, if you said that to me, right? Oh, is the traffic bad? I'll then go, yeah, it's really bad, or I'll go, no, I just couldn't be bothered getting up on time this morning. Or, there's been times when I've gone to the loo or something and then someone stopped me and I've got to my bus late and I've just gone up to the customer and said, "I'm really sorry, it's my fault." I said I was having a bit of a yak with someone and I just couldn't be bothered. And they all laugh, and it's fine if you tell customers. But yeah, it's if you rip into someone and there's a genuine reason why they're late, it kind of winds you up. But yeah, so I've spoken to people and they ignore you because they're on the phone or they've got their headphones on, and and stuff. So you get to the point where you don't bother talking to them, because what's the point if they're not going to respond back to you? And then they start posting on Facebook, "Oh, all the drivers are miserable, they never even talk to you." Yeah, because you never acknowledge us. And in this day and age, people have cards. So, or they have return tickets, or they have day tickets. So there's no reason for them to talk to you. So you don't get that interaction. Years ago, you used to get on the bus and say, "Can I have a single, please? A single to town." Right. Well, that's words that you speak to the driver. We've got a system where you put money in a shoe. Um, there's no change given, and all the fares are the same price, whether you go one stop or the full distance. So people just chuck money in, and that's it. That's the interaction you get with customers, and there's no need to speak to people, so they don't. And then they complain you don't talk to them. Well, you know, here you go. Now you work out from that what I want. Yeah, is that for a single? Is that for a youth return? Do you want a youth day ticket? Have you put too much money in and you only needed that? You know, all you have to do is say, "Can I have a single?" Even if you didn't say please, it wouldn't bother me so much. So, you know, don't don't not do something to me and then complain that I'm not doing it to you. It- That it's just one of those things. It's just the way things have gone, and I just think that's ruined bus driving for me. It's like when I go to London, it's all Oyster cards. So you have a card and you tap the card, and then the exit is halfway up the bus. So you can't say thank you to the driver as you come out. And that bothers me. So I have to make a point and shout down the bus, "Cheers, drive." And I know that that's, well, I don't know if he's bothered, but I judge the thank yous on a bus. Um, I'm looking for about 75% people saying thank you as they get off. And that will vary from place to place. There's a housing estate in Newport where you're lucky to get 10%. If you get 10% people saying thank you, you know you've driven to the best of your ability. Um, there's another estate where if 90% say thank you, you know you've given a really bad journey because you should be getting about 9,500. But you kind of know school kids. If you get one school kid saying thank you as they get off the bus, you know you've done a terrific journey. So, but yeah, it's sorry, I'm having a rant and unleashing things now. So I just wonder if I should just. I'm almost considering giving up bus driving. I love bus driving, but it's just ooh. I don't know. It's I'm becoming more bus driver and less customer service orientated person. Um, it's like being in the old days when I mean, I didn't drive in the old days when we had drivers and conductors, but the driver used to sit in an enclosed cab and he didn't speak to anyone during that journey because he couldn't. And the conductor was the one who did all the interactions. And then they brought in one man operated. So the driver's doing both jobs. Um, but now it's going back to driver is becoming just a driver, and except that he hasn't got that conductor to talk to anymore. So yeah, maybe tomorrow will be better. I don't know. But I will say one thing though, with the new overtime rate that we've got, within a week, overtime has been harder to get hold of. We've got people who do overtime anyway. Yeah, that's it. Do you know what? I'm not. I can't speak for all drivers, Adrian, but if you say thank you to me, that can be the big difference between a crap day and a good day. You know, it's if it's not my own route tomorrow, it's overtime. So it's not my duty. My split shifts, I only do a 10-week rota. So I find I do every duty, I do that 5 times over a 10-week period. So I'm starting to see the same people over and over again. And those people are starting to know me. There's some estates I don't really enjoy so much. Um, the crowd of people that go up to a place called Celtic Springs, which is a work. It's like what I call a work park. I did intend to go up there this week and take some photos. It's got beautiful. I posted it on Facebook before many years ago. Well, a year ago. They've got this little man-made waterfall with a little sprinkler, and it's right on the terminus, and it's in the summertime. You get there 5-10 minutes before you're due to come out, so you get to stand there and have a cigarette. You got this beautiful water feature, and you think that's really nice. And on a Saturday you get like 20-minute layover there, and you're like every hour you're there for 20 minutes, and it's like you can't do a lot. You can't do better than this, can you? um but yeah, tomorrow it's not my duty, and I'm on a long day, and I what am I doing? I start at 25 past 7 and I finish at 10 to 7. So it's a 12-hour day. The only good thing is because it's overtime, I will get paid straight through. So I'll get paid meal breaks tomorrow. So I'll get paid like 2 hours more than I normally will. And I'll get paid an extra, what is it, Friday tomorrow, is it? So I get paid an extra £2 an hour. So I'll probably be 24, 24. So, do you know what? I just cheered myself up. I've just worked out with the paid meal breaks and the £2 extra an hour. I'm about £30 better off than I was. Yeah, okay, I'm happier now. Yeah, that's my week's pension contributions paid for. Oh, and I've just joined the union. Um, I can't see. Normally, I first thing I do when I join any bus companies, I get straight in and join the union. And I really can't see the point in joining this union. They don't seem to do much. And this latest pay deal, we didn't get any say in it. Normally, when they offer a pay deal, it gets put to the union, and then the union members vote on whether they accept or decline this offer. Um, And so obviously your union membership counts for something because you helped dictate, 50% pay rise. No, that's not good enough. Right. Well, we'll hold out for 60%. You've got, obviously, we're not going to get that much. But you have a bit of a say. And this one, it's just right. This is the way it's going to be. And all right, it's a good deal for me because I work overtime on a Saturday. And now what I'm tempted to do, normally I work every other Saturday. Excuse me. I'm actually tempted now to do a short shift every Saturday rather than a long shift every other Saturday. And then if I did a like an afternoon or a late shift, it then wouldn't affect my streams on a Friday night because I wouldn't have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Um, so, I mean, what that's one thing that's made me happier is that when I was with, what a coincidence. When I was with Ariva, they had, if you worked after 8 o'clock, or a Saturday or a Sunday. I might have these the wrong way round, but if you work after 8 or a Saturday and a Sunday, regardless of if it's overtime or not, you got an additional pound an hour, just like unsociable working hours. If you worked your day off, you on top of that, you got an extra £1.30 an hour. So if you worked a Saturday or a Sunday rest day, you got an extra £2.30 on top of your wages because it's unsociable and rest day working. So the obvious manipulation there is to get yourself onto a 4 day week rower. So you're doing 10 hours a day instead of 8, and then work that fifth day. And if you can work a Saturday or a Sunday, fifth day, you're getting an extra £2.30 an hour, and you've still got 2 days off in the week. And that's the obvious manipulation there. With when you're on a standard rate throughout, there's nothing to manipulate, nothing to take, nothing to abuse, nothing to take advantage of. Now that they've got an overtime rate for working weekends, there's something to take advantage of. So it might be worth doing. And because my shifts, because they're split shift, all of our shifts, every rota we have, they offer some benefit, um, but there's something that they take away as well, which I think is very fair. Your 4 day week, you have to work longer days, but then you get an extra day off in the week. And every 6 weeks, they give you the last 3 days of the week off, and then the first 3 days of the following week, which gives you 6 days off. With split shifts, you have to work 12 hours. Well, you're in work for 12 hours, um, but you only get paid 8 hours. So you got like a 5 hour dinner break, but you're guaranteed every Saturday and Sunday off. Now, with Saturday and Sundays attracting a better overtime rate, they're the days you want. You don't want to be working on a rota that you have to work Saturday and Sunday as part of your normal day, and then your overtime is say on a Wednesday where you don't get paid so much. So yeah, there's something to manipulate there. Listen, guys, I'm going to have to go. I was looking at ending the stream an hour ago. Also, I'm going to remove this stream because I've ended up talking about work. Although I haven't given away who I work for, and I don't think I've said anything bad about work. I just want to check, am I still streaming? Because yes, I am. Yeah, the reason I asked was because I've got another computer running and I have the show running just so I can see the comments and things, and it just suddenly paused. So, well, I'm just going to do this. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think I'm on a long delay now. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Right, I was actually, it buffered. So I was, instead of being about 10 seconds behind, it was about half a minute behind. Yeah, right, guys. So I'm going to disappear. Going to jump into bed, probably watch more Game of Thrones videos on YouTube, because that's how I tend to go to bed now, is end up watching YouTube. And do you know what? If you put a YouTube video on about Game of Thrones, there's a lot out there, and you just let it autoplay. What seems to be coming up now is what they call a rewind. There's a couple of people out there. What they've done is they've taken one character and they've done a montage of all of their scenes on every scene only with them in. So you end up with like an hour and a half long video of everything that they've done. And I end up, they seem to be playing, you know how YouTube goes, you watch something and then it'll come up something suggested next. And that's how it always seems to go with YouTube. So, but it used to be if you watch something like something, I don't know, make believe or something, you used to end up falling asleep, waking up in the morning and watching things on possessed girls and things. And, you know, you wake up at 3 in the morning and there's this girl, and you're like, Jesus Christ, what a thing to wake up to. So, yeah, I don't know how the hell YouTube's algorithms work, but yeah. Right, so I'm setting my alarm. Yeah, sorry, someone said earlier on about the bins, didn't they? I actually missed the bin man this morning. Can you believe that? Or was it yesterday? What's the day today? Yeah, I missed the bin man. I went to get what happened. We've got two bins. We've got the normal council bins, um, which we've got about six of those, and they need to be put out fortnightly. And we've got another bin. It's a private company. The landlord's got this bin and they come and collect every week or every fortnight. And he has to pay extra for that because it's done by a company, not the council. And it's a locked bin. We have the key in the house. And it's something funny with the lock. It won't open. And I'm one of about two people that know how to open it. So what everyone in the house has done is they've been shoving their bins in the council, their rubbish in the council bins. Well, of course, all the council bins are overflowing. So what I tried to do this morning was run out there before the bin man came, the private bin man, and put as many bags from the council bins into the blue bin. I call it the blue bin because it's blue. I tried to put as many bin bags in, and it's quite funny. I'd missed them, and I got there and I'm like, no, there was a foot and a half of space in that bin, and I didn't fill it up. And because we got a funeral home next door, and they had a funeral going on, and there's them all, oh, sad, the death of my uncle or father or whatever, and they're all dressed in their black, and there's me going, oh, there's a foot and a half of space in the bins, I've wasted it. So yeah, right, guys, so I'm going to disappear now. So my next stream is going to be tomorrow evening. Now I've got a bit of a surprise for you. I've been building, tomorrow we're going to be building Harley Davidson, and it is here. Yes, this is what we're building tomorrow. This is going to be on Twitch. Now, one issue is quite a bit of a slow one. Well, they're all slow. The problem we've got with the Harley Davidson is that there's no actual building. We're now up to month 5, and we've not really. Right, I got a feeling I should be ignoring this. Smash or pass Kim Jong Un. Don't know what you mean by that. If you'd like to elaborate, I will answer that. But yeah, we've got nothing to do with the bike really, but we've got a helmet there, so that's going to be making an appearance tomorrow. But tomorrow we are going to be building something for the first time. So and that is all I'm going to tell you. The speedometer. So that's tomorrow night. Sunday will be the return of my chill out stream where we just chill out and we do whatever. And then Monday, what am I doing Monday? I'm hoping to do the equivalent of a Sunday stream next week. And then I have my Route Master on the Wednesday, and I can't give you a preview on that other than what I showed you yesterday, which is that we're going to be doing. Why am I getting excited over mud flaps? So, Right, guys. So I'm signing off then. Oh, Monday is smash or pass. Okay, I'm still not with you. Right. Okay, no problems. Right, I'm going to sign off now. Um, I'll just say a quick thank you to Love, double thank you to Love Minis. All right. Oh, will I be doing Roblox streams? Not when you say Roblox, do you mean the blocks as in like the Lego? I don't have anything planned. Um, I haven't ordered anything. I'm probably going to be getting, because the problem I've got is I've gotten a muddle with my part works. Normally I do part works on a Friday. Um, I used to have three part works on the go. So we used to do it like the first Friday would be this, the second Friday will be that, and the third. Now, what's happening is the Millennium Falcon is getting it's not tricky to do the Millennium Falcon, but it's quite long. So what we're having to do is switch the Millennium Falcon and the Harley, because if I'm doing a part work on a Friday and I've got work the next day, I can't really afford to run the stream too long. And then the 3D printer I've stopped, because obviously I've just bought a complete printer. So there's no point me spending £600 on a part work printer that's not going to be awesome when I've got bought one for 300 quid that's meant to be supposed to be good. Um, but so that means I've got 2 or 3 weeks in a month where I've got no part works to do. So the answer is either buy part works, which I don't want to do, or do something else. So what I'm looking at doing is we tried out. I don't know if you were watching. I've done 3 Lego things. We did the Lego bus, which I think is absolutely amazing. I was worried when I bought this. It's £110. And I'm like, oh my God, I've just spent £110 on Lego. But in actual fact, I think this is brilliant value for money. Absolutely brilliant. Then I bought a mini, and this was £70. And again, I think this is really good. For what it is, I think it's smashing. I think we did all enjoy building this, didn't we? And then what I'd done was I make no secrets about this. I've heard the term cheap Chinese knockoff Lego. This is Lego. Well, it's not Lego. It's Lepin, and what it is, it's Chinese. It is a copy of Lego, but they've got round all the copyright rules because they've not got Lego written on the blocks. They've not called it Lego. They've changed the manual. But this is exactly the same as the VW Beetle Lego, except that this was £28. Now, the drawback, oh, I keep knocking bits off. I handle that as little as I possibly can because every time I touch it, bits fall off. Now, I'm happy to buy the Lepin, because I feel that by buying the Lepin, I'm still getting the Lego, as in building it won't be any different. But it takes about a month to arrive because it's coming from China. Now, I bought that one as a test. And so I said, I'm not even going to order another one until I know that that one's okay. So I'm looking at maybe some Lego. But the problem with Lego is that I can't complete it in a 2 hour stream. And then once I've started it, I can't wait a month to do more of it. You can't, if you've got a model that's going to take 4 months for 8 hours to build, you can't build 2 hours and then wait a month and then do 2 more hours. So that one's a little bit of a tricky one. So I'm not sure where to go on that Lego. But then, maybe I should treat it like a part work, and the part works are going to take time to complete. So there's a few more little things I want to explore. So I will be doing more. But I think what I might do is, obviously, this coming Friday we've got Harley Davidson. I might cheat a little bit next week. I'll nip down Wilco and get another one of their blocks. Um, is that something that you'd enjoy? I suppose I could really cheat and get my army tank, because that was a 7-in-1, and we built the tank and then we built the helicopter. So there's five models that I've not built that yet. Um, so right, yeah. So I really am going to end it there. Thank you very much for everyone who's watching. I can't believe I've spoken crap for 2 hours, and I've got 5 people still watching. I must have some magic about me. Mind you, one of those is me, and another one is my moderator. So three people I've kept entertained for 2 hours. That's I should deserve an award for that, shouldn't I? Right, guys. So I'm disappearing now. Thank you very much for watching. For those that are interested, I'm on Twitch tomorrow with Harley Davidson. So take care, guys. I can't find my mouse. Right, okay, I'm going now. Bye bye. Take care.